Now, a survey conducted by a leading Israeli think tank suggests that most Israelis don't believe that a so-called absolute victory is possible in Gaza. Israeli leaders have said their main goal is to eradicate Hamas. The Israel Democracy Institute found that 51% of Jewish respondents do not believe in such a victory. That number is even higher among Palestinian Israelis at 77.5%. While 55% of those who identified as right-wing say they don't believe Israel can completely destroy Hamas. Meanwhile, for left-wing respondents, that number increases to 85%. Let's go live to Willem Marx, who's in occupied East Jerusalem, where the old city is at the heart of Israeli occupation and the conflict. So, Willem, what more can you tell us about this survey? Is the tide of Israeli public opinion turning against the government on this?
It's hard to answer that in the sense that the question being asked in this specific survey was about the likelihood of absolute victory, a phrase we've heard time and again from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about his military strategy in Gaza. But in terms of the widespread disaffection with the way this war is being waged, that is now increasingly clear amongst many portions of Israel's already very polarized society. The respondents there, as you saw from both the left and right wing, both Jewish and Palestinian citizens here in Israel, saying that they are very unwilling to expect, as it were, an absolute victory of the kind that Mr. Netanyahu has been talking about.
And tell us a bit more about a vote that has taken place today in the Israeli parliament regarding the creation of Palestinian state. How did that go?
Well, the context for this is important. Over the last few weeks, we've heard calls from senior figures in several different countries around the world for Palestinian statehood to be recognized as part of any long-term agreement that will bring this bloodshed to an end. What we saw just a few days ago from Netanyahu's cabinet was a vote that was ultimately symbolic, saying that they would reject the establishment of a Palestinian state, the recognition of a Palestinian state, if it was forced upon Israel from outside of Israel. In other words, if external powers were to dictate that this was an element that had to be accepted by the Israeli government. Netanyahu promised that he would also bring this to a vote inside the parliament, in the Knesset, and we've seen the vast majority of members of the Knesset voting to, again, reject this idea that statehood could be imposed upon them. Externally, 99 of the members of the Knesset voting to say that a small minority, primarily Palestinian Israelis, and their representatives, of course, saying that this was not a vote that they agreed with. But in terms of the symbolism here, this was designed as a message from Mr. Netanyahu, as he made clear, to send to the world that Israelis, for the most part, are united on this very specific issue of Palestinian statehood being imposed upon them by external powers.
OK, thank you for that. Willem Marx there for us in occupied East Jerusalem.